We've developed several ciphers.
Murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his...
Holy fuck!
A bizarre flash occurs, and the plane has vanished. Upon
WEF is an
Houston. Vector good. Bye-bye, fly.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Connect the Dots.
I can't believe we've come this far.
I know, episode 2.
we came back.
It's a big day.
Like Daniel today didn't trust me, so he shared his location so that I would make it.
Yeah.
That was really thoughtful.
Yeah.
He's like, we want to start at 8, so let's tell everybody that we need to get here at 7.
Well, I'm just glad you made it without making the wrong turn onto the wrong freeway.
I was thinking about the day. I do not know how I did that, but except I did play football in high school and college, so CT.
Yeah.
And I'm turning 50 in like 2 weeks.
When's your birthday?
December 5th.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Cool.
So I'm going to have some good excuses.
Big fight.
But it was weird. I'm like, what the? I mean, I literally have driven to your house several times before then.
Right.
And never had that mistake.
Right.
So I don't know, man.
Must have been like a
Glitch
senior
of the
moment.
Matrix. I'm probably in a different universe.
Yeah.
I've never met actually you two people before. That's probably what it is. That's the
Yeah, we-
most likely
Alternate
scenario.
reality.
Yeah.
I didn't make a mistake.
No.
It's obvious that you guys are born in separate universes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Totally. Cool. Well, you had something you wanted to share.
so big win for me. You can learn stuff on the internet. I watched a 60-second TikTok from Gordon Ramsay.
Is it Gordon Ramsay himself?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
Or
It's
someone
a-
doing Gordon Ramsay.
I think that he might have been just critiquing someone, how he kind of is reacting to it. But you just put a cold pan, put it on pretty high heat, and put the butter in so it's still cold. And then you just crack 2 eggs in it. You don't scramble them first. And then you just start scrambling them and never stop. And then as they start to like barely
you just
start.
have a whisk or like a...
Yeah, I had a whisk. Just
Okay.
No, I started with a whisk and then I had to switch actually to a spatula. Rubber silicone spatula. So I'm just scraping the edges off. Keep it. You never let it sit on the pan. And then if it starts to get to where you can't scrape it fast enough, you take it off the heat and you just keep doing it. Then you just put it on the heat, back and forth for like 4 minutes or something, 5 minutes.
Right.
And then they're kind of like they probably don't look very good American style because they're kind of like they're not runny, but they're like gooey. And then you have toast. You butter it, put that on it, and you just eat it like that. Open face sandwich.
Okay.
Do you like put any seasoning on the eggs?
None. Oh, you could salt it, but you don't need to. It almost tastes like salty and cheesy almost. It's only because you have butter. You have salted butter. It's quite a bit of butter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I forgot. You add about a couple tablespoons of cream.
Okay.
Oh,
I forgot about the cream.
what, like heavy whipping cream? Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah, that's game changer.
And
there.
it was seriously eye-opening. Because, normally you're doctoring up your eggs and all this stuff. Nah.
Yeah.
And even my kid, who's adopted and has, like, very picky because has brain trauma, he just wolfed them down. So I'm like,
Dude, that's a win then.
yeah, big one.
Getting your kids to eat is hard.
But anyway, I was also very excited to come and chat today about
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about.
You want to introduce what we're going to talk about today?
Nonsense. Yeah. So today we're going to dig into the Titanic. And did it sink? Did it not sink? And where is it now?
That's okay.
Dude,
Okay.
stop.
Let me start with saying this. I didn't know that the Titanic was quote unquote a conspiracy, or there was like a conspiracy theory about it
Uh-huh.
until maybe like a year ago. No, but I haven't looked into it. But like I heard a story, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll let you tell the story. And I'll tell you if you don't say anything. I'll mention it. But
I can restart again too.
it was. I was like, what? Anyways, yeah.
I'm relatively new to the Titanic one as well, but it also was strangely compelling. Mm-hmm. Given that there's like a through line of a lot of other things from some of the main players in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're like, wait a minute, but that doesn't mean it's true necessarily.
Yeah. Like, it makes sense why. Like, it's very convenient that it happened for the owner,
Yeah.
but, like, horrific for the passengers.
And there's actually a lot of different ones too of who was the driver. You have J.P. Morgan was one.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
then,
heard.
but then you also had Rothschild behind it in another one
Yeah.
because he had some enemies on there. And then you have the ones that are just like the dude was drunk. And
Yeah.
then I even heard one that the guy who was actually steering had been trained so that when you do starboard on a sailing vessel, apparently you turn the wheel to the right, which makes the rudder go left. Mm-hmm. But on modern ships, it's like the opposite. You just turn it the way you want it to go. And I could have said that wrong. All of our millions of fans will probably totally
They'll
they're
correct
going to
you.
flame me.
It's like
Yeah.
Nintendo. You have the inverse control.
Yes, it was like that. And so
That's the
apparently
only way to
one
play,
of
by the way, inverted.
one of them
Only way.
was trained old school, and one was trained. So there's like, so what?
So when the
what is-
iceberg came, he
what
turned
really?
into it, thinking he was turning the other way.
Yes. So
I don't know. I wouldn't put that guy. Do you
Yeah.
think that's his first time driving it?
it
Well, it
was.
was its main voyage,
It was the,
so,
it was the
like-
maiden voyage.
It
Well,
had
I know, but I'm
never-
saying like, okay,
His
you-
previous ship was an older vessel,
Oh,
and he was
okay.
trained when he went to school for it. It was all the old sailing ships.
So then he gets in a new one and doesn't know that it's the opposite way.
I mean, it seems.
Dude,
hey,
that's a bad
Occam's razor.
Yeah.
You know, didn't you see that guy who drove the semi truck with the excavator on the back of it under the freeway right over here the other day?
No.
Just close the whole freeway. The excavator just smashed it into the bridge.
Could you imagine?
So I mean,
having that day?
hey, stuff happens. You know?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. This is still crazy.
Now there's a conspiracy like it was freaking Rothschilds.
Yeah,
did
Pretty
that.
Rothschilds.
Trying to tear down I-15. Is that where it was?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I love it.
So what do we? What really happened?
So
Billy?
basically, the story of Titanic, you have this massive ship,
Right.
it's first of its kind. Well, actually, second of its kind. So they had the Olympic and the Titanic.
And wasn't there a third one that was coming out? The
Yeah,
Britannic.
It hadn't. I don't think it'd been built at the time, but
But there was supposed to build
there was
three,
gonna be
right?
a through. So the
And I think it was called the Britannic.
I think so. So Titanic has its maiden voyage and sell out all the suites and all that stuff. And takes off, goes out, and I'm not even sure how far into it. A couple days,
I think so. Yeah,
so.
something
week
like
or
that.
so. It hits an iceberg. The iceberg like tears through the however many holes they had of the steel, and it shredded into it. It started taking on water. They didn't have enough lifeboats for everybody, and so they tried to save like women and children getting off, and eventually it the front of it filled up, started sinking, snapped, and then sunk all the way down. It was freezing cold water, and like I just think that's a horrific way to die, just in the water, just freezing cold.
I did hear though, if Wim Hof had been on the Titanic, would he have just totally dominated with the breathing techniques and just he'd have the great hormone balancing that ice bathing
Yeah.
have been having?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what people are prepping for with the ice baths.
Maybe it was like this. Oh no, we're falling in the water, and they got in there like, oh my gosh, I have so much clarity.
Yeah.
I found my purpose, and then they're like, oh, too long.
Yeah.
And now
They were in it too
And
long.
somewhere in between all that, they started losing body fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got trimmed. They had their perfect body.
And they just
Like-
vibrate into a different density, and that's really where they went. Third eye chakra just opens.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting now that it's like, what would those people think now when everyone's like, hey, I just spent like $5,000 on this ice bath.
$5,000.
I saw this TikTok and this guy was
So I can get in freezing cold, like I would call it North Atlantic level temperatures, and just voluntarily get into it.
yeah.
And then they would be like, that sounds terrible. That's how we died.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I saw this TikTok and this guy's like, rich people do that because they don't have trials. Their life's not hard. That's why they do that.
Do you know-
He's like, you're broke and poor and your life's hard. Don't get into ice water.
Hey,
Everybody.
both things can be true. If they need trials, let them get in some ice water.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
We had a bunch
Changed
of those
my whole
blue
perspective
barrels.
on the Titanic now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good for him.
I mean, if Joe Rogan had fallen in, dude, he'd have been fine.
Yeah.
He'd have been like, just bear it.
Dude, he'd be in there, and
Just
then
get
he'd get his compound bow out,
Yeah, he'd be like,
and Elon Musk would come
there's
by
a
in an
penguin.
armored boat. He'd be like,
there's like a penguin over there. He's like, and then he's like, you just eat the fat. No carbs. You know what I mean?
yeah, he would have survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who knows? Maybe too soon.
Yeah.
No, dude, it's been like 100 years. We can make fun of
I
Titanic.
think it was, 1914?
I saw an inflatable, like, children's, those things that, like,
We probably, since we're talking about it, I'm
Flooded.
just going to go ahead and look up the date.
and slide
Yeah.
down. Those, like, bounce house things.
Yeah,
I saw a meme years ago, and somebody had made an inflatable, like, sinking Titanic that the kids could climb up and, like, slide down on the inflatable, like...
A toy.
yeah, and so it was like,
Epic.
oh, I guess that's, like, enough
I'm
time
telling you,
has
that would
passed
be
you can make
that
fun
would
of
be
it.
a mind-blowing event to bring those people back and just let them see.
Well,
Just let 'em see.
is your kid?
That'd
is
be
your
like-
kid on. Is that the Titanic?
Like, that's the worst day of my life.
It'd be like
And you're just-
50
you're just-
years
yeah,
from
you
now,
live-
The
and
water's
they're
not
like a
cold enough.
trampoline of like twin towers, and people are like jumping off like
Oh my
onto,
gosh.
like, a trampoline off like it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
like we would be like, how dare you do
1912,
that?
April 15th, 1912.
Tax
Yeah.
day. Convenient.
Convenient. That's another thing we could get into.
Interesting.
Maybe people were just dodging taxes.
Well, they didn't exist yet, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
do now.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
We'll get into that. I love it.
Federal Reserve. Anyway, so there's a lot of different conspiracy theories on like why it sank, if it was an accident or if it was on purpose, and then you had a lot of wealthy people that had suites. J.P. Morgan was one of them who had a suite. I think the Rothschilds had suites, and like none of them went to the Titanic.
Wait, what? They didn't get on the
They
Titanic?
didn't get on the Titanic.
They paid
So
for ticket.
They bought it. They had it all paid for, and then just like didn't go. Which I don't know if you're just that powerful and wealthy, you can get your money back. Because that seems like if you pay for like a carnival.
Was there a
cruise,
reason-
they're
Their
probably gonna
the
go.
cost was pretty high too. Like it was like $50,000 in today's money.
Dang, I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
a ton of cash.
So just to walk away from, to just say, oh no,
Which is similar to like a lot of. It's like a month. It was like a month or something, right?
yeah,
It isn't too much more expensive now, but it was ultimately the most luxurious place to be in the world, or
Yeah.
something like that. It wasn't just like the most luxurious boat. It was like
It was like,
next level.
well, what was their excuse? Like, why? What did they say? Like, why didn't they get on the boat?
I want to say J.P. Morgan's was, he said he didn't feel well, and the Rothschild, I can't think of what his first name was. He had like his wagon wheel broke on the way there.
Wagon wheel, dang.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy
like,
to think it was that long ago.
yeah.
Crazy.
So they like happened, it broke, and so it, yeah. So he missed it basically,
Convenient.
and then they went off and yeah, and then it sank. So you have a handful of people on it that were, well, back up. So the U.S. government was wanting to make the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
And they were voting on a form of banking, like a new banking system. And there was 3 names that were against the Federal Reserve. Jacob Astor, Benjamin something, and then Strauss, who, like the family that's like Macy's stores. They were opposed, and they voted against the Federal Reserve. And so you have all 3 of those people, very vocal, very wealthy, like titans at the time.
Right.
And they set sail, it sinks, and then very quickly they pass, Federal Reserve's created, and everything just like steamrolls forward. So there's a lot of theories that are like, that was, you could see why people would say, yeah, they eliminated the people that were on the same peer power with them. And they're like, we're just going to eliminate you. We'll sink the ship. You guys will die. And then we'll create the Federal Reserve, which is a banking system that then we can control.
Right. Because then they use the Federal Reserve and have and now to control the ebb and flow of money into the economy.
Yeah.
They either turn the faucet on, turn the faucet off, and control it.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, that makes sense why something like that much power you would give to somebody. You're like, well, yeah, I'm going to do whatever to keep that.
And then J.P. Morgan at this time, like, he had Chase Bank, like, established, right? I mean, I don't think it was Chase. It might probably was like J.P. Morgan or whatever.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But, so he has a vested interest in the fact that, I guess, the Federal Reserve gets created. I mean, yeah.
Because it was a system that was backed by gold. And so they're like, well, we'll just take all the gold, we'll put it in Fort Knox, which could be another episode. Put all the gold in Fort Knox. And I don't know who decided that they will audit it, or how they're able to say, like, we're not going to get audited. I don't know. I don't know how that happens.
Who does it?
Weird.
Yeah, I mean they have that famous thing from the 70s where that senator went in, right, with a camera, and then there's just bricks of gold, like he's standing next to him, he's holding one.
Yeah.
But they're saying the way he is holding it,
That you wouldn't be able to.
It's unnatural because of how much it would weigh. So they're saying they're all fake.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And so
Fort Knox is just full of,
I mean,
like,
the Federal Reserve angle is interesting, but man, there's so many. It boggles the mind to think who would even engineer something. I mean, to put that on and then have a ship sink and all of these pieces.
Well, you think of all the collateral damage for that, right? Like, you want to take out 3 people, and you're gonna kill 15, like 100 people. But there was that boat, the SS Californian, something like that, that was in the area. And so people are like, well, they knew it was going to sink, so they had this boat out there to save people, but the waters were so choppy that night that, like, the SOS from because they have, like, a light that
Right.
and they communicate, and it was, like, too far away, so they couldn't see it.
And then there was a further one away that was supposed to hear, or that could have heard radio, but it couldn't hear radio for some reason.
Yeah.
Too.
So there was like, well,
And it eventually did respond, but
yeah, did they plan on killing all those people? Was it like
they had, like,
just like a
things in play to
and it was
save them.
terrible accident that they,
Well, then they just have someone on the boat that, like, finds these dudes and is like, kills them and then, like, pitches them in the water.
Yeah, I don't know.
Phil, you haven't even brought up the craziest part. The Hershey's of the chocolate kingdom were also booked on that Titanic, and they didn't get on.
Yeah.
Well, now,
So-
what kind of candy are you guys eating?
Yeah.
I think it's a Kit Kat Hershey.
There's a lot.
So literally just that one.
Big chocolate? Anyone?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. We need to boycott. Well, it depends on what side we're on.
Yeah, that's true.
If we're like pro banking and pro chocolate,
yeah, that's true.
then our angle's like,
I
yeah,
do like my
That's
low interest rate
interesting.
mortgage.
That is
Yeah.
an interesting. I mean, I like chocolate. I guess I like banking too.
Good or bad? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is the Federal Reserve good or bad? I mean, they really
It's good for
messed
some
up
people.
the economy now.
It's good for some people.
Well, for the ultra wealthy.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's so confusing, and I feel like it's created to be confusing.
Here is an interesting thought, though. Okay. At no time in the history of the earth has there been less people or more people out of poverty than there is now. Never. Like, if you think of like basic goods and services, like clean water,
Right.
shelter,
Yeah.
even education, language, writing. And so then you're like, well, a lot of that is here because of the massive pumping of funds and the liquidity of money that can just transfer around the globe. And if we were still on the gold standard, that couldn't happen. I mean, not saying good or bad either necessarily, but it just wouldn't happen that way because you would have to then link every dollar to a physical
gold.
So if you were
backing.
transferring money to China, especially someone who's kind of an enemy that we also like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we probably all have Chinese. I mean, I have an iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like we have this enemy who's like a frenemy, but then you would have to link gold and trust each other. You would either have to deliver the gold to China or trust that they're accounting their gold properly. No.
Yeah,
So
no.
then in some ways I'm against it, kind of, but I get why they're just like, screw this gold standard thing.
Yeah.
We are not going to be able to manage this because it's a world economy now.
Yeah.
And we're going to trade with our enemies. You know what would work? Oil. Everyone needs it. So you can kind of see this, like, you can see the logic of it and the rationale of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
then you have people like the former British colony, known as the United States, then just keeps control of all of the world.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because why didn't we leave Britain behind? We didn't. Like they're our, I don't know, it's hand in glove or
Yeah.
there's something weird with Britain and the United States, and that a lot of countries like Britain that get overthrown like they did disappear.
Yeah.
But Britain didn't.
Yeah.
And then they gave Hong Kong back, but they're okay.
Yeah.
They still have their hand in everything, and so it's like, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if I'm understanding this right, you had a bunch of like super wealthy people that had a vested interest in the Federal Reserve being created. Didn't show up. The three dudes that were against it were on the ship. They die in the crash. Now, did it hit an iceberg?
So that's like, there's a couple theories that it like was already damaged, that the hull was already damaged.
Right.
Hull, Hull. I don't know if that's his hull.
Yep.
Was already damaged. And so it was just like, no, I don't want to say it like that. There's two theories. One is that something went off, like an explosive went off from inside to blow like the steel out. Because there's people that are like, it doesn't matter how sharp or how like hard the ice is,
Right.
an iceberg can't like shred steel. And
Well,
I'm-
especially over like the distance, because if I remember all my history lessons correctly, it like ripped a hole in the hull long enough because it had like these safety precautions in place where it had like they basically separated out the boat into
Bulkheads.
into multiple bulkheads. So if one got damaged, they
they-
could seal it.
And they were the tallest bulkheads in any ship, and that's where it kind of came from. That like this one's
It was
as close to
unsinkable.
unsinkable as it could be.
Yeah.
Right. So
Now,
yeah,
I would say
part-
this though. Imagine you have a bunch of tinfoil, and you take something like a banana. Can you pierce the tinfoil with a banana?
If you hit it hard enough.
Yeah,
Are you
it's
talking
like
about a peeled banana? Or
yeah,
like-
like a peeled
Is
banana
this
even.
the soft?
Yeah,
soft
yeah.
banana?
But like you can't really cut it, right?
Yeah,
we all
right.
agree on that. And so that's
Right.
kind of that ice thing. But you can press it enough to where it shears. So an
Yeah.
iceberg is pretty big.
Yeah.
And if it pushes hard enough on that and the ship keeps pushing, that metal will deform. And then when it breaks, it looks burst.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it, if it was an explosion, wouldn't it go out? Not in?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
We'll go down and take a look at the.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not after they made it illegal.
Yeah.
Which
Convenient.
is convenient.
But yeah, so there's like they said it blew up, and then the other one's like it hit an iceberg and sunk. What comes in there now is this other theory that at the time that Titanic was built, there was also the Olympic, and it very quickly after it was made, went out, it like bumped into like a military barge or something
No,
like that.
it was a warship, and the warship actually hit it.
Oh, okay.
Like a
And-
T-bone?
Kind of. It was like.
Oh, okay.
But apparently it hit it in such a way that it not only pierced the hull, but it was above the waterline. But it kind of like if you could see this, it like warped the ship like this, and it kind of
Right.
reverberated. So that then it has that metal camshaft, essentially, as it would be a modern motor, but it runs like the length of the ship, and it has these big pistons on it that move it up and down, and that's what drives the propeller. Apparently that got like just off center. So it's like irreparable.
Just destroy the ship.
And so it's like, yeah, and so it was like $800,000 to repair. Of that time's money. So
I was like, that's
it only cost $7 million to build the whole ship. So I mean they built the ship for like $1 billion, I think now.
Yeah.
So
God, that's
whatever that ratio would be.
Right.
It was like $800,000 of 1914 money
Yeah.
to repair it. So
Golly.
So they're looking at, it's like, well, they have the Titanic that's just being finished being built,
Right.
and now they have this ship.
oh, and the insurance company wouldn't pay that out because whatever the circumstances were, there was like inside the harbor was created and it was a warship or something that
Yeah.
they're like the maritime judges that come out and they're like, nope,
Yeah.
you don't get. Yeah, there's just like this group that can judge this stuff apparently.
So they insured the Olympic, and then it gets in an accident, and then the insurance company wouldn't pay because of
Because of whatever, I don't remember the
Essentially, whatever
rules.
loophole.
Yeah, whatever loophole was, they're like, we aren't
freaking
paying.
insurance agency.
Insurance.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
one
the
thing that's
worst.
consistent.
That's one thing that's consistent.
it's been the same since 1914.
So
I ain't
So-
paying that.
the theory is the Titanic, basically they stripped some of the stuff off the Olympic, and then they swapped boats. So then they painted the Olympic to look just like the Titanic. And so then
They took like the china, because they all had their own china plates.
yeah.
They had like bedspreads, robes that all were
It's kinda
labeled.
like embroidered Titanic.
Yeah, it was like embroidered stuff. So
So they switched everything, and then the Titanic has its maiden voyage, but it's the Olympic
repaired now.
that now can go, but then also gets hit and damaged at the same place that the Olympic was damaged, and then sinks, which now they collect the insurance money.
So it's insurance fraud.
Yeah, and so that's where you get into people go down, they've looked at the Titanic, all this stuff, and now technology's so good, they're going down there having all these like laser sonar readings and stuff. And
Because there's on like different parts, when it's made, so some of the parts of the Titanic were made at this factory over in a different part of England. Well,
Right.
they're going to stamp it with certain marks that make it so that when it's delivered on the trains and everything that gets delivered, then the guys unloading the trains are like, this is the Titanic, and they could take it there. So it has some other stuff that they could never have gotten rid of all of it.
So, and that's like as technology's getting better, that now we're starting to go down and we're able to really look at it instead of just like grainy footage from
The 1990s.
who's that director?
Michael-
James
Yeah.
Cameron.
Or
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Goes down there, does all that. So it's like you have that footage that we see, but technology's getting so good now, you're able to like really start to see things. And I remember one of the most recent ones was they were showing like scratches on a bolt or something that's how good the technology was. And then what happens, right? We have this billionaire guy who goes down there and he disappears, his whole crew disappears, and they're looking for it, all this, and all they talk about is it's controlled by like this GameCube looking controller. And it's
That
this
was
like,
kind of weird.
it's
though,
this
that it was
row,
controlled.
yeah, it's like this.
It's genius.
All the
this
nerds were
group
like,
that
yep.
they aren't certified. They
Right.
weren't. It wasn't tested. It wasn't like blah blah blah. And so a week later, well, I can't remember how long it was, but like a week later, they come out and they're like, okay, we've they're gone, and here's like proof that they freaking just crunched in, and they show that like stupid controller thing.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that survived? Like, the whole
Wait,
thing just
what?
crunches
Yeah,
in. It's
Hold
like-
on. Hold on. You're saying that I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the sub implodes, right?
Yeah.
And then like it wasn't like the US Navy came out and said, "Hey, you can hear it on
Yeah.
like the sonar or whatever," where they were like listening, they could hear it go whatever
And
an
Biden was
implosion
like-
sounds like.
Supposedly, it was like, don't, we're not going to say anything. We're going to keep looking. They just like crammed it down everybody's throat in the media. It was everywhere. Like,
Right.
and then you have these people that are like, oh, they're billionaires, like, eat the rich. And then other people are like, well, yeah, but there's like a kid on there. Like,
Somehow it becomes like Trump versus Biden.
yeah, so it became this weird, like, politicized thing. But, yeah.
But they have the controller.
But they found the controller and, like, footage
Which,
of the controller.
that is
at the
strange. I didn't know they found the controller. That because they did just like always talk about the controller, and
Yeah.
then they found it.
bottom. Yeah,
Come on.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
How's that even
I
possible?
mean, but then I guess that stuff works.
Yeah.
yeah, like I feel like you'd have to be pretty dumb though to like.
But it's, the easy. They just feed it down to us viewers.
And we're like,
We're just
yum, 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 yum,
Yep,
yum.
that works. That makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that is
now,
a controller. I used to play with one
Yeah.
of those. I
So-
like them.
So now you have the
That's so
government
whack.
stepping in and saying, well, this was a horrific accident. We can't let that happen anymore. From now on, we will regulate who goes down and when so we can make sure that it's safe.
The
And
U.S.
that-
government said that.
And that gets back into
I
like,
don't know if it's U.S., but certainly the powers that be. I can't imagine they have like a tender on station above the Titanic, though. It's like,
Right.
well, I just think it's so,
but I guess you got to publicize it if it's going to be a for-profit thing. So who knows?
Yeah, that's weird.
Someone needs to go down there and get the bottles of wine.
Those suckers
16
have to be so good.
16,000 bottles of wine were on the Titanic. And someone said that at the bottom of the sea, it's 100 times better than any wine cellar at keeping them.
just a bunch of
What would someone pay? Because you
winos
see how much
swimming
people pay for that wine.
Could you imagine
It's
if you
nuts.
got the Titanic wine?
Wine.
It'd probably be better than gold.
It'd probably be worth a lot more than gold.
Yeah.
I tried to look it up to see if someone had like estimated a price. But here, check this out. Here's one, a shipwreck wine, 300 years old. It's not even the Titanic. I mean, the Titanic would make it more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is just some shipwreck.
Yeah.
35,000 to 38,000, and they found like about 25 cases of it. So it's 30 to 40,000 per bottle.
Holy
and they found
cow.
25 cases, and
Good.
they're selling the wine.
Could you imagine that? Like,
And you could drink it. Like I guess it's just sealed.
Yeah, you can. Even though there is that famous thing where guy. I was on like American Greed, and he's like people would invite him to their parties to come and like, oh, a hint of rose and he'd be sniffing and all this stuff. And
He's,
then
like,
he'd
doing the
bring
whole spinning
his
thing.
own bottles, and they were like 300-year-old wines, and like I didn't know any of those still exist. He's like, yeah, I got the last one. And then he'd be like,
gosh.
should we open it? And they're like, yeah. But then he'd charge them. And he's just making money hand over fist. Come to find out, he's literally got like a laser printer, and he's figured out this ingenious way to like fake it.
So he's,
And it's
like,
using
making the
box
labels.
wine. And he's giving it to these people, and he's like, this is the most amazing. And everyone's just like, they're
like,
just
"It's so good."
literally eating it up, dropping 15,000, 20,000 a bottle. And he's laser printing the stickers, and sticking them on, and then like,
Roughing 'em up or
torching
whatever.
them, and
Yeah.
putting like this weird ink on them and all this stuff. And
Oh my gosh.
so, yeah, I think that, good for him. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about that. And that one, I'm like, who really lost? They were like, I love this.
Yeah.
This is an amazing experience. And they obviously can't tell the difference between.
That's my favorite part.
It's like-
And they
it's
actually,
like
there's
those-
a gene apparently that you can have. I'm sorry, Fielding, for cutting you off. There's a gene apparently you can have that would make it so you can tell the difference between wines. And only, I can't remember what the percentage is. Like 10% of the humans have it. So the rest of us,
We're just
it
suckers.
doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter. And even Nestle here in Utah County will hire people that have that gene to come and like taste ice cream and taste their treats and stuff, because they can actually be like, and they can taste stuff.
That's so
Yeah.
weird.
I didn't
But
know.
the rest of them, and they're still just like dropping.
That's crazy.
I'm like, good for him, dude. What a salesman.
I just always think like, how
Yeah,
is
So funny.
Can you imagine that?
dumb would you feel? Like those commercials where it's like, you like this $10 burger, and you're like, yeah, this is delicious, and they're like, idiot, it's a Carl's Jr. cheeseburger.
Sidebar, they did
And they're
say
just like-
on the American Greed episode, where they were talking about that, like people were suspicious for years. But hey, police, I just spent $50,000 on boxed wine.
Because no crime.
Because they wouldn't go tell, because they were
Embarrassed.
they're like
Embarrassed.
exactly what you're saying. Like
Right.
the psychology of it was really, but then also they had to almost recommend him because they had spent it. They recommended to people, even though they were suspicious. Because then if those people accept him, then it's like, so this is weird,
Make you
like
feel
social-
better about
Yes.
yourself.
And this is, but then you would also think, oh, I must have been wrong. My suspicions are wrong because he went to so and so's house and they.
Yeah. That's genius.
I don't know,
That's
man.
crazy.
And insane. I didn't know about the gene thing that like
Yeah.
different people.
That's weird.
Well, and there's another one like cilantro. Like some people
Yeah,
love
it
it.
tastes like soap. For
To you,
me.
to
I'm
you.
one of those people.
So you
Yeah.
actually have. They found the gene that you have. They can tell. They could tell. They could take our blood. and
Cilantro tastes
test
like
it.
soap for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife loves it. and
But
I'm
it's
just like,
genetic.
Cilantro's awesome.
It's genetic.
Heck no.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, and it's soap. That's my father-in-law too, but it's a gene.
That's
So,
crazy.
I love it.
Okay, let's take a break.
'Kay.
And then when we get back, I have some more questions that I want
Okay.
to dive more into this. So we'll
Cool.
be back.
And
And cut.
The main ones that were opposed the Federal Reserve, because I talked about them earlier: Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus.
Those are the three dudes.
Those are the three.
Okay.
and Strauss was the Macy's guy, right?
And there's a bunch of like, yeah, I don't know. I just see why they would, and maybe I'm just like corrupt and evil in my heart, because like I get why the theory exists that they would do that.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like the first time in like human history that some like rich, powerful people are more than willing to sacrifice
Well, look at people like
other people for their gain.
well, when you cut costs, like they
Or
said the
for
Titanic.
the greater good.
Oh,
Greater
I'm sorry.
good, yeah.
Greater good.
Well, people cut
The
costs
greater good.
On the Titanic that they didn't have enough.
Like funds?
No. That they like skimped on the lifeboats, so they didn't have enough lifeboats for anybody anyway. And so that's why they were like telling people like, oh yeah, we're fine, we're not gonna sink, but it's because they're like, oh shoot, there's only like 10%.
And they're like,
Well-
put all the rich people on.
yeah, just 1%ers on.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. That's been reported. I've heard that my whole life, but apparently the rules of like how many lifeboats is different now. Like if you go on a ship now, there's a space for everyone, and you have this like, you have like I remember when I went on a cruise, even they disrupted our buffet eating, even if you'll imagine, to tell us how to get on lifeboats and like which lifeboats we were assigned to.
Yeah.
Because
are you just really, like, we're never gonna sink?
Yeah, I'm busy eating pizza and ice cream.
Dude, that'd be me.
But
I wouldn't care.
But no, it was like really serious, and like where you put these little life preservers on, you can pull them, and they have like a tracking beacon and all this. Yeah. It was really high tech, and I remember thinking, well, this is pretty interesting. But it was related to the Titanic and ships of that time because they didn't really have procedure.
Yeah.
So like the Titanic apparently had enough life. It had more than enough.
Oh,
life
really?
boats. Yeah. So like it was based on tonnage. And they had like, I can't remember, like 25 lifeboats or something, which was like 3 or 4 more lifeboats than was required. So they actually exceeded the amount that they were supposed to have.
So why didn't everybody get off?
And well, there's, I guess in the movie Titanic, I don't remember it, but there was this guy who's like, women and children, he's like got a gun and he like shoots somebody.
Yeah.
Apparently that didn't happen either, but the captain did say women and children first, but then... So then maybe in this section there's like 20 women. And so like 2 dudes would get into row, those 20 women, but the boat could hold like, I mean, I guess we could look it up, but I think they hold like 80 people or something. And so
dang, so they're like massive.
They're big boats
anyway.
Yeah, they're big rafts, but then they would lower them, and once they're lowered, it's done because now you're like 20 stories off. So if you jump in the water, you're gonna probably die.
Yeah.
If you jump in the boat, you're definitely gonna die and kill someone else. So so. I don't. That part to me is something that was kind of new, that they weren't just evil. Like they actually had enough lifeboats. Even the insurance thing that you brought up earlier. Mm-hmm. So they had an $800,000 loss if they kept that boat, right?
Yeah.
They'd have to fix it. So it made, and so a lot of people are like, well, it may not even be worth fixing. Well, $800,000 to fix a $7 million asset that generates recurring revenue. That's probably worth it. But then additionally, they weren't insured for the full value, replacement value. It's kind of like your car. So if you paid $40,000 at the dealership and then it's only worth $26,000.
Yeah.
As soon as you drive it off the lot, the insurance only pays the $26,000.
Yeah, you don't get the full.
So a lot of people report that and I don't, we don't even know anything, right? We only see what we see.
Yeah.
But apparently, so it cost like $7-8 million to make it. It was only insured for like $5 million. So if this plan was true, it was a bad plan because then their losses would have been greater than it would have been to cost to just fix the $800,000.
Yeah.
And then the revenue dies.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So.
But I don't know. But then in the same,
I still hate J.P. Morgan. But.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
If it was an accident or not.
I mean, he was a warmonger. I mean, we could talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, that makes sense. The women and children thing getting on the boats, because at what point do you decide like
the men?
Okay, now the men can get on.
Well, there was this. So then there's all this
trying
crazy
to filter everything.
There's all this crazy stuff that happened after. So the White Star Cruise Lines wouldn't talk to whoever the newspaper guy was. The big one that was like the anti-weed guy too. He owned all the newspapers. Hearst.
Yeah.
And so he got offended. So then one of the executives or something from White Star Lines who wouldn't talk to them, he said that he dressed like a woman to get on a boat, which apparently wasn't true. Apparently he was just in his clothes. And there was 4 guys that got on the boat. They were just dressed normally. And they probably were thinking logically, like, well, this is a huge freaking boat. Yeah. There's only 20 women. Let's get some guys on here and get off this boat, this thinking. Apparently one time, though, a guy did get on a boat, and one of the crew members was like, all the men get off this boat.
Yeah.
And a woman actually threw her shawl over his shoulders and to disguise him so that he could stay. Because she probably was thinking rationally, too. Like, that's a stupid rule. The boat's sinking.
Yeah.
And so he did kind of use women's clothes to escape the ship, but not even he was just in regular clothes.
I've always thought of that, like if that was true, like a guy
Yeah.
put on women's clothes to like survive.
Yeah.
Is that like an alpha move to stay alive?
I think it is.
Or is it like this shameful thing that you carry the rest of your life? Like,
That could be a whole other episode.
like I was a coward or was it like, I
think-
never sink
I
and
think
I'm
they
never going to
did.
die.
Yeah.
I'll dress up like a woman. I don't care.
It's a Balfa move. Beta alpha.
Alpha move.
Balfa.
Alpha.
I don't know, dude.
I like that.
If you're sitting on a ship, you know it's sinking. You see that there's open spots, but they're not letting you get on. I don't know, man.
You're like, I have an idea.
I mean, I'd like to think that, like, for sure, I'd be like, because I'm thinking, like,
Your integrity.
in my mind.
I
like,
hope I would be like, hey, everyone else, get on this boat.
Yeah.
And I would maybe wait. I don't know, man.
You're like, hey, that 17-year-old working the dock, we can take him.
Am I afraid of dying? Yes. But I think my biggest motivation for, even if I had to dress like a woman to get on that boat, would be, that's some cold water.
Yeah.
I'd just be looking at that water like,
nah, I ain't doing that.
I'm getting on this boat or this raft right now.
Is that a red?
Yeah.
Is that a tight red dress?
Yeah.
I can make that
All
work.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You never know until you get there, right? So I don't
Yeah.
want to judge people. But apparently, one of them, at least, like his whole life he was like ostracized and
Because
For something
he
that
survived.
wasn't
it
necessarily
wasn't even true. I mean, the Hearst, the magazine guy,
the
destroyed his
story
life.
that
Yeah.
he-
Oh, God.
Well, yeah, because that like just calls into question.
It also makes me wonder, like, the internet didn't even exist. Just move to some friggin' town in Kansas. No one knows who you are.
Yeah.
And you're a millionaire, so
Yeah.
it's
Seems
just
like a win-win.
You dominate Kansas, and it's
Yeah.
like, who is this guy? He's like, I don't know, man. He's got a British accent. And he knows a lot about boats. I don't know why he's here in the plains, but
That's so weird. Dude, that's
yeah,
funny.
but it was interesting that there was a lot of Even the unsinkable part of the Titanic was the Titanic never really said that. That came about after it had been hit. One of the White Star Line's guys came, and everyone's like, they heard about that it was currently sinking, and it all comes across, goes to this boat, and then they tell him. And he came out and just made a statement. Don't worry about it. I mean, this is going to be a big inconvenience for everyone. Because the ship's stuck out there and it's going to delay their thing. We'll have to get another ship, but it's basically unsinkable.
Yeah.
And so even then, they didn't advertise it as unsinkable before, even though it did have state-of-the-art, bulkheads. It had the most and the tallest or something like that. And do you know what a bulkhead is?
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's like a wall, right? Just
It's like a wall in the middle of the ship that you
Right.
can close all the doors to. And so even if this compartment fills all the way up, then
it
this
won't
one,
sink.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But if it goes over the top, then you can go up to the rooms if you're high enough, and it'll spill into it that way, and then it can fill that compartment.
Yeah, but then it takes multiple compartments.
Yeah,
to
and so
sink
that's
it.
what you were saying earlier, where
Yeah.
it hit and it kind of went kink, 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 and broke
Yeah.
multiple.
So that even when the bulkheads were shut, it still was too much for it to.
Yeah. There
But
was
that's if it hit an iceberg.
Do you want to hear something really weird? As I was kind of like listening to stuff about all the ships back then, they were on coal, right? And it was apparently really common because all that coal would get a little bit damp, and then it would sit there and there's so much, and then it would start to just create heat, and then sometimes it would just catch on fire. And so, do you know what these people did that are obviously a lot tougher than we are? They would just shovel it into the boilers.
As it was burning.
Yeah, because you can't put it out. It's coal. Like you spray water on it, it just kind of spreads it to the other
splashes.
coal because it's essentially like solid. So instead, they would just like, hey, there's a fire. They just come over and like, and so but because they were doing this is one theory. The reason they were going so fast when they hit the iceberg was they were having to shovel on fire coal into the boilers. Well, if you get the boilers going, the steam goes. It makes the ship go faster. That's how you don't have like a gas pedal.
Yeah.
In these ships, it's like the guy goes, "Hey, go faster," and then all the
50
people that are
guys
down there working, they're like, "Oh,
shovel.
okay." They shovel more coal in. That's how it goes faster.
Jeez.
So it's like, but apparently that was a really normal thing for coal to just be on fire in the ship.
Dude, could you imagine those working? Like, you're
Working
like,
conditions?
what do you do? I work in a ship. I shovel coal. and then you're like just jacked, ripped,
Yeah.
dude.
But no one cares
Yeah,
because you're just in the bottom of a ship all the time. There's no Insta.
yeah.
If you had
No one's-
Insta, you're like,
no one's
you'd look like
Snapchatting themselves.
you could look like what's his face from remember when Ben Stiller what movie is that where he's the model? Zoolander. And he goes with his dad into the coal mine. He's like all dressed up.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
man, that's too.
I mean,
good.
if you could get some likes and
Get some likes off it.
yeah,
maybe.
it might be worth it. But
go viral.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? You're like on the Titanic back then. You're like, hey, everybody on the
Yeah.
Titanic,
yeah,
the unsinkable sinking.
no one's
Yeah.
sinking this thing.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just like,
Just hit an iceberg, a-okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
man.
they were just like in the comments like cringe.
yeah.
Imagine.
I hope you drown.
Imagine being on the Titanic. They would. The comments are brutal.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
The depths of humanity.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I don't know, man. Part of me thinks like, you know, accidents happen and like sometimes like things just line up and it's coincidence. Like that stuff happens. But then I don't know, man.
What do you think, Phil?
Well, there's that other.
What do you think the truth is?
There's that other saying where it's like, never let. How do they say it? Never let a
tragedy go away to waste, or yeah, I've heard
something
that.
like
Remember
that, where it's like, look it up, yeah, because it's like,
And all the Republicans think that like Obama or Bill Clinton said it, and all of the liberals think that it was like
Yeah.
Reagan, or you know.
I don't know, whoever started the like thanks Obama like meme back in the day, that was hilarious. And
Thanks
then
Obama was
himself
amazing.
tries to dunk a cookie, and it doesn't fit. He goes, "Thanks Obama."
I will say this: whoever was writing his
funny.
stuff, or perhaps even he, has a pretty good sense of humor.
Yeah,
That's pretty fun.
I heard that if you ever like
Never
even
let a
if-
crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so it could have been just like a horrific thing.
But then they took advantage of it.
I think that it was taken down to create the Federal Reserve because so much power comes from the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And the people that control that. And would they...
And you have those three people. And are we saying that if those three people would have lived, the Federal Reserve would have at
would
least
not
been
have
delayed?
passed, and
At least at
they
that
were
time.
also titans of their time. So like we see like Vanderbilt, Steele, he's a titan. J.P. Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
titan. These guys were also titans, and you know their wealth still exists. Their kids still take over and stuff, but they're not going to be as passionate against the Federal Reserve as these guys were, because they saw what was happening and what the Federal Reserve could do. And
Honestly, if you're still fighting against the Federal Reserve and you're one of those kind of wealthy people, you got a lot of guts and
yeah,
morals, I guess. I don't even know that I would be. If someone handed me like $100 million right now,
yeah,
like all you have to do is endorse the Federal Reserve, I'd be like,
yeah.
100 million?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I must be weak morally because I'm like 100 mil.
Yeah.
yeah, dude,
100
I'll
mil?
disappear.
I'm
well,
like,
I would probably do it.
problem.
I'd probably do it
I'm
like
in
this.
vaccine commercials for that now.
Yeah. I'm like, I got a blue thing. Hey, what's up, Travis Kelce?
Travis Kelce.
My best friend.
Dude, that guy made a deal with the devil.
Dude, he
Oh,
did.
dude.
He just is like pretty famous, and then all of a sudden something switches, dude, and he's like
Isn't that weird?
vaccine stuff. He's got freaking Taylor
Well-
Swift now as his girlfriend, million other things.
We could talk about this even more, in more depth later, but like even Obama, he's nothing. He's like an organizer. And then I can remember thinking like, who's this Obama guy? Next thing I know, he's president.
Yeah.
Do you know who he reminds me of though? And it's on the other side. Vivek Ramaswamy. You guys watched
Oh,
him?
yeah.
He just has
Yeah.
the right answer for everything.
Yep.
And he's of
Young,
color.
cool guy.
Yeah, he's hip. And, he got his hair. And I'm just like, that is so interesting. Out of nowhere,
Yeah.
Right.
seemingly. And then he's like, it's just an
Gets
interesting.
lots of traction and stuff.
Gets tons of traction. And whether it's positive or negative, because even Obama, like people were ripping on Obama and making fun of him. But
Yeah.
but it's like the old thing. No, there's no such thing as bad press or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but he was put into the zeitgeist. And it reminds me very similar to Vivek.
Yeah.
Which is fun to say Vivek too.
It is.
It's just a cool name.
he
I mean,
used to
he's
be
just so
on,
cool.
Glenn
Yeah.
Beck, they were
Seeming.
talking about, because I think he's the guy that does like a U.S. oil or something like that.
Futures
isn't that
or
what
something.
he does? Something like that.
He's a money guy.
Yeah.
And so he was
Just
always
money.
talking
So he just
about
trades
like
money.
that ticker, and I'm always like, is that guy saying his name wrong? He just seems like he like
You correct him. You're like,
just like
it's Vivek.
Yeah.
like blurs it together, and it's like, is that a real guy? But maybe
Yes,
it's not.
yeah.
Maybe they created
I
him.
don't know.
Well, what's easier, sinking the Titanic or just creating all these Muppets that go around and do your bidding? And I think, honestly, it'd be way easier just to do it the way they do it now. Just tons of Muppets.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, I agree with that. But I think like
Well, it's like when we used to work, and in order to get supplies, do you remember you had to email or call this guy, and he had a profile and a name and a phone number, but no one ever saw him or talked to him. He would respond in emails, and then your stuff would show up, but it was always like super late. And so we would always joke like, that guy's just a figment of like
He's not
HR's
real.
imagination. And they're like, we're just going to create this guy. He's in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just like the four of us who control it will go in and randomly check
Yeah.
it, send supplies. And then everybody's always going to corporate looking for whatever his name is. And he's not even a real person.
It doesn't
It'd be so
exist.
easy.
Yeah.
that's true because then you think about it.
And useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now they don't get the
You could
phone
always
calls.
be like, oh, dude,
Yeah, can
he's
you believe it?
slacking.
Can you believe he's not?
yeah, we'll talk to him. We'll talk to him about that.
We're trying to hire a second person, and he's,
It's just not in the budget yet. Dude, that's so true. I don't know. Like, I think that's like probably how things happen now, where it's like, yeah, just a bunch of Muppets, and then you've got like whoever's behind the scenes is just running the sock puppets, right? Telling them what to say, where to go, what to do. But I don't know. And we'll have to get into Pearl Harbor at some point too.
my.
But I'm like,
yeah.
and then you've got
we could just do all false flags.
yeah, you got 9/11, and you've got Pearl Harbor, Titanic. I don't know. I just think that like if you are a power hungry, ultra rich person,
Yeah.
and like your ultimate goal is just I want to gain and gather as much power as humanly possible underneath my thumb.
Yeah.
Dude, 1,500 people, that's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if there are people like
I'm
the
saying it's a big deal.
like
I'm
the
just saying for
Bidens,
them.
like the Clintons, like the Bushes, and if it's 1,500 of those people, it's like because I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
their little black books are huge, and so I mean, what is the power? of
By the way, if we're talking about the Clintons, I'm not suicidal.
Daniel he just kills himself all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like that's really weird. He just set this freaking whole studio up in his
Yeah.
basement. Everything was cool, and then
Domed himself, huh?
yeah,
All right.
I mean that checks out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Shot himself in the mouth with a 20-inch barreled bolt action rifle.
Yeah. Shot
Just
himself-
put my toe on it.
Shot himself in the back, put himself in a barrel,
Shot himself
rolled
twice.
himself into the Bay of Biscayne. I don't. Just your typical old.
Yeah,
Typical
just like
suicide.
a normal, former
Yeah.
worker of a certain family. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think it was sunk on purpose,
Yeah.
but some of the other exigencies. That's a
Exigent circumstances.
exigencies. Yeah, where you don't necessarily.
Yeah, I think
Who was behind it then?
like what one person? I don't know what one person.
Okay, what organization?
Flipping cabal, dude.
The
I would say
cabal-
it's probably it's the bankers, and I think the bankers are behind.
Probably the
everything.
same group that went to the Grove, Bohemian Grove, and now is it doing what's the Bilderberg?
Bilderberg, yeah.
Just an organization. It's like the Elks Club
Yeah.
for billionaires. All right, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I never,
Think it was an accident?
for my entire life, and then like a year ago, like I was watching something on like Instagram and I saw like a short, and I was like, J.P. Morgan did what? And then I was like, oh, I gotta talk to you. And then I think I actually texted both of you, and I was like, guys, you gotta hear this. And then Feeling's like, yeah, that's like common knowledge.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't communicate with me while you're on the toilet.
That's where all my good thoughts come from, dude. those long bathroom halls.
Like, how'd you even know?
Those, I don't want to FaceTime you.
I'm like, oh, dude, I'll just
I
show
gotta
you.
tell you about this.
I'll show you just my face, I promise. And then I flush. No, I don't know. I don't know. As I've gotten older and I've like learned more about, I don't know, all the different questionable things that have happened in history, it makes me think that there's a lot more that's going on behind the scenes than what is being said. And the thing that bothers me the most is after that sub with the billionaire guy on it sinks, and then all of a sudden now it's like, no, this is off limits. That to me is sketchy. And I get it. Like, I get that there's like probably some good intentions for some people to be like, hey, we need to regulate this to protect people.
Yeah.
But who gives a shiz, dude? If people want to go and like get inside a sub and drive it with a Nintendo Switch controller,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. That's
Yeah.
like their own prerogative. And like, who's to dictate who can go underwater? So to me, like, yeah, I think with the technology and the fact that they can look at it now and go like, oh, something's sketchy about this ship down here.
Well, and they've done it.
Yeah.
They've done it before, like the whole DB Cooper thing. DB Cooper's just this random guy, hijacks an airplane, steals a bunch of cash,
And he's gone.
jumps out of it. Cash never really shows up. He disappears in the jungle. And then they're all of a sudden like, whoa, we need to regulate everybody who gets on airplanes. We need to start checking baggage. We need to start doing all
I
this stuff.
did live within 10 minutes of where they found some of that money in a riverbank.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I remember the news came out and they're like, we found DB, because they're all marked bills.
Yeah.
And then Travis is like, fuck, dude, I was on that river just the other
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
They were
Could've
shredded. They were
had
pretty
$100.
shredded. They were pretty shredded because it wasn't a jungle, but it was Washington State and it was like wet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, it was kind of cool. It was like where he jumped, if he jumped building, is pretty hairy.
jumped,
It's pretty hairy.
parachute,
There's like no. It's
Had a
all
motorcycle.
trees.
He's a CIA guy. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
We did just watch Spy Kids, so almost anything's possible.
Tom Cruise, dude, that guy does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying you think it was an accident or wasn't?
I think there's too many. I don't know. It's like you call the kettle black, right? Like there's so many different abnormalities with people not getting on the boat that should have been on the boat, people that were on the boat that died on the boat. You have it. I didn't know about the life rafts. You have enough life rafts to get everybody on the boat, but somehow people don't get on it.
They didn't have enough for everybody. They just had the legal amount,
Right. Okay. But
which
then,
is weird that the law is like, half's good enough.
Yeah. You're going to lose some people.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
you
how
gotta
many-
expect to lose some people.
How many suites do you have? Yeah, that should be enough. Yeah, that's fine. Who cares
Yeah,
about it?
that's probably what it is.
You don't have enough for the poop deck? That's
they
fine.
got it.
That's
Yeah.
fine. It's the poop deck.
Yeah.
No, I just think there's too many things that align that would make sense for it to be some type of, accident. Well, not accident, but claimed accident, but it was intentional.
It is pretty crazy. I'll admit. I just think that this one, it's like, to me, the thing that maybe makes me lean towards it was actually an accident is how hard it would have been to orchestrate. Even though I guess they did mess up, so, some of the things was like, they didn't try to kill him, they were going to rescue him and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But even just trying to orchestrate this, and then you don't even have like cell phones. I mean, you're communicating with telegraph. Just the order of magnitude of difficulty of pulling it off would be really, really tough.
Yeah.
Like
You think?
in the best case scenario. Well, yeah, because even just switching. The thing that gets me, honestly, is like the thing is like, well, you got the Olympic, it's hurt,
Right.
and you can't get the insurance, and then you got the Titanic, it's about to be finished. So then they pull the Olympic in, and apparently they close the dock
Yeah.
which they never closed them because people were working 1,500 hours a month or something back then.
Oh, God, dude.
And but they did close it one day, which was really rare. And they're saying that's when they had switched all the stuff over. Like, well, who switched it over? And I mean, you're talking like the menus were printed for each ship. So you'd have to carry the menus. You'd have to carry the towels. You'd have to carry, the china and the silverware.
Right.
And then not miss any of it. And then people were like, well, the ship names weren't imprinted on the bow, but they were imprinted on the bow. But then some people were like, well, they were engraved. And then after the switch, they were embossed. And it's like, I mean,
See, the
I
insurance,
get it, but like even if what you're saying is true, that would have taken an army. Because they supposedly did it in like 3 days to switch these two gigantic ships. And I've been involved in like taking down the chairs after church. And I'm like, this is a pretty significant effort. I mean, if a few of the elders don't show up and it's just you and a couple pregnant women and a couple primary kids, it can take a minute. But we're talking like way bigger operation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that makes me think, even though I almost want to believe this one, I just don't think it's true.
That's all right.
See, the insurance thing, I agree with
Philly
you.
still forgives me.
That's good.
I forgive him, yeah.
That's
Because
good.
when like you're not ready for the truth, it just can't sit with
He
you.
just can't be red pilled yet.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when you're ready,
Guys, I'm probably going to vote for Biden this time.
Don't get crazy. Don't get crazy.
I think he's really pulling it together.
Yeah,
He's getting better.
Speaking of,
yeah.
He's getting
love
better.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, let's not even go down that
Yeah.
rabbit hole. The insurance one, I agree with you. I think the money that they could have made off of it would supersede, obviously, them sinking it. But that doesn't account for the Federal Reserve guys, though.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve, guys, is a sticking, because I mean, the Fed is so evil and nasty, and it was passed in such a terrible way. I mean, Christmas Eve is when it was like formulated and passed and all that jazz. So that part, I mean, again, maybe like the moon landing is like the moon landing. I used to be like 60-40. We landed, and then I kind of switched. I'm like, maybe I'm like 70%. It was an accident. 80% was an accident, even.
All right.
I don't know.
I'll go
I think
I'll go 80-20.
80-20.
Yeah, 20%.
It was an
It's
accident.
an accident. 80%. Yeah, it's fishy.
I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go bold on this one. I think, like without a doubt, it was whether it was an accident to hit the iceberg or not. I find it hard to believe that the three guys that needed to go away to pass the Federal Reserve get on the same ship and it sinks and they all die.
And
You're telling me, and they're wealthy people, and I'm sorry, but like if you're like some wealthy, hoity-toity, well-to-do guy, and they say women and children, you're like, deuces. I run like one of the largest banks or whatever, and you're gonna get on you're gonna get on one of those boats. And
But they were against the Fed, so they
somebody's
were
like, let's
real
go
men.
get Jacob Astor. They knock on the door and they're like, Jacob? Dead with a piano wire already.
Yes,
They're like,
exactly.
"Oh."
Hillary there.
So I'm like, go.
Hillary Clinton was there?
Time travel.
What?
Yeah,
Time
that's a whole
travel
other
back.
episode.
Yeah.
Nah, she wouldn't get her hands dirty.
She
wouldn't.
She unalived him?
Oh no.
I hate that. Why do they say that? It's because they can't say. Oh, you probably.
Yeah,
can't
you
say,
probably get in trouble for doing the pew pew.
I know that was banana.
Oh, it's a banana.
Yeah, like
A pew banana.
shooting bananas at people.
I think we
we're
probably should,
small enough that
I know.
that
We
no
probably
one's
should
gonna-
look into it because there's weird rules on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
welcome to YouTube. But I don't know. I think that there's just too much for me to think. Which is a long ways because I mean I watched the movie Titanic and I was like
brought to tears.
I cried when Jack died.
I mean, here's an interesting thought too, though, because like even the guy who founded Macy's was on it, right? And then Macy's still exists. Like, think of the long term. Maybe here's an argument against me. It's like it's worth orchestrating something like this because look at the ramifications of it. The Fed still has never been ratified by the states.
Yeah.
It still exists.
Yeah.
And
The people that control it still control
the
it.
people that still control, and now it's even grown to where it basically funds the World Bank,
Yeah.
which now controls the world. And now the World Bank's even maybe detaching from the United States, which it used to be maybe you could say it favored the United States and kind of destroyed everyone else's lives to lift up the United States. But now it's even detaching from that to what? I don't know.
Yeah. So if
Undersea
you know, if
bases.
you see the value of that at the time, is that worth killing and sinking a ship?
But then you got to respect that. Like, that's a vision. I mean, you're sitting there playing billiards and you're like, guys, hear me out. I got this idea.
Yeah.
We'll be long dead after, but it'll be the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, right? To set schemes in place that outlive you.
Well, if you're thinking of like your empire
Yeah.
and maintaining
power and control.
Power.
And maybe it didn't look exactly
You
like this.
probably, yeah, I mean,
Maybe he thought
it's-
all his kids,
Yeah.
like Billy's going to be running
Yeah.
this someday.
Yeah.
And then Billy
I
gets
could tell.
knocked off and some other person takes over.
The
And,
Smoky Man just walks off.
yeah. Smoky Man. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm with Daniel on, like, it's pretty compelling, the reasons to do it.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems, and this could just be my small mind, it just seems too much to have pulled off.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I can't tell how many times I procrastinated and didn't plan for something, and I pulled off an amazing presentation or something, and I got all kinds of compliments. I was like, I didn't even prepare.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's a
That's
vicious
true.
cycle.
I mean, PowerPoint can, like, design slides for you now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should ask AI, dude. AI will do everything.
I actually had an appointment the other day, and I was told that I was giving it, like, 3 minutes before.
Nice.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I have 3 minutes plus we have like 5 minutes of kind of chit chat. So I made like an 8-slide PowerPoint in like 8 minutes, and then did like an hour presentation.
Nice, man.
Dude, that's how I live my life. Still got it.
I was like, well, I actually like to prepare for things, and then maybe I can wing it. But just like going in cold, that was freaking stressful.
Well, in order to wing it, you have to have the knowledge in you.
Yeah.
The guy I work for could probably do an 8-hour seminar. Like, we could like break into his house right now while he's sleeping.
Yeah.
Just wake him up and say, in 5 minutes you have to go, and then he could probably just do 8 hours. He's really talented.
That's insane.
It's pretty. I've never seen
in
anything like
like
it.
sacrament meeting, I can easily get up and I'm like, 15 minutes, cakewalk, dude. All right, what story are we gonna tell? All right, yeah, that stuff's easy.
That's true. And yeah, you being in your calling. That's
I used to be that way, and then I gave a talk years ago because I could just get up and just wing it and talk forever, smooth. And then I was like, I can do that. Got up. Like
you bombed.
2 minutes later, I was just like, literally looked over to the bishop and I was just like, I'm out of time. My wife and I took like a combined like 3.5 minutes.
Oh my god, dude, that's epic.
Dude, that's like my nightmare.
Sorry, guys.
Did you really say that?
Yeah, legitimately. Like, I was like, I'm out of stuff.
I'm
He
not
was like, that's okay. We'll fill in. I was like, sick.
Jeez. That makes me.
And then I sat down.
I'm uncomfortable with that for some reason.
And then I sat down and I was
It
like,
kills me.
I no longer have it. That's good to know. That's,
So you literally could used to do it.
dude, yeah,
And then-
easily.
Then
Whatever topic
it
I
just
get to
turned
talk
off.
about. Yeah,
dang.
Dude, that's so
It
funny.
must be lack of usage or something.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just got to throw yourself in the fire.
Yeah, and I hadn't done it for so long that I'm just like, hit my bullet points,
Nice.
and I'm just like, I don't even want to fake it anymore. He was just like, okay, yeah, it's great.
It reminds me of that these kids
They
shared
never asked me to speak again.
shared this new
That's
song
hilarious.
that's taking the internet by storm. It's called "I'm Parked Down by the Lake." Have you heard that song? It's like this country song, and
Yeah.
it's
I only listen
essentially
to heavy
the
metal.
only lyrics are "I'm parked down by the lake" with some other filler stuff. It's like he's like, "I'm parked down by the lake. If you wonder where I'm parked, it's down by the lake." And it's like sounds like a really good country song until you're like, he just repeating it, same line over and over again. So then it's apparently blowing up because
That's awesome.
It's obviously for fun.
Yeah.
That's another conspiracy.
The music industry? Oh man,
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
freaking Jay Zizzle.
Yeah. We'll dive into that one.
Queen Bee.
Okay. What are we going to talk about next week?
Next week we're gonna dig into Roswell.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
I like that we're getting the oldie but goodies out of the way
Yeah.
before we go absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But Roswell is good. I remember I got this book by Reader's Digest. My grandma gave it to me before the internet, kids. And it was like this big.
It literally existed while you're pooping. Reader's
you know what I'm
Digest
talking about?
Yeah. It
it
was
was
a
like-
magazine or like a booklet that was small.
Well, no. That was Reader's Digest. This was the Reader's Digest Mysteries of the Unexplained book. It's on eBay if anyone wants to get it. It's amazing. We have a copy. It's from like the 80s. And it's like this thick. And all it is like Sasquatch stories.
Yeah.
Roswell.
Dude, that's my jam.
And it had the pictures, and so I must have read it
Do you think it's on Audible?
300 times. Oh, probably.
It'd be a hard one to
kidding.
listen.
Because it's mostly pictures.
On the toilet?
Yeah.
Play.
And it's, yeah, just brief description, describe the picture.
Usually when I get the Sasquatch, then I'm like, okay.
So do you call it Sasquatch or Bigfoot?
I'm from the Pacific
I was going to
Northwest.
say, because you're up there,
Yeah.
and they call it Sasquatch. So I wondered if...
So, I mean, when we get into I have some Sasquatch stories for when we talk about that one, because I worked in a photo developing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is going to be
We
good.
literally developed photos from film.
Yeah.
And so I was on the Columbia River in a town called Hood River, which was on the Oregon side, but on the Washington side, it's called like Skamania County, and it's like Sasquatch Central. It's like just south of St. Helens, and you want to talk forest? I mean, it's like it's like it makes the Return of the Jedi forest look like nothing. I mean, it's like it's thick forest.
Yeah.
And this dude would come in, and it's like he's a character from a cartoon about Bigfoot hunters.
Yeah.
And he comes walking in. He's got like this like layered kind of like long johns, then with like another sleeve shirt over it, and then like the poofy jacket, you know, his boots and all that. I mean, he lives in the woods, big beard, and he'd come in all the time. And he's paid by the federal government, which is also strange. He's like works for the federal government, and he would just drop off canisters of film, and we'd develop them. And it was like pictures of big feet imprints, fur that was like up a tree, and he'd have like sticks next to it.
Yeah.
So I literally saw he's developing. He wasn't trying to sell us on that there was a Sasquatch.
He was just getting his stuff.
He was just getting his stuff, and we would develop it and put it in the thing and develop
He
the
just had
pictures.
one of those like disposable cameras.
He had no. He had legit like equipment.
Yeah.
Someone's
Yeah.
funding this
Yeah.
dude back then. I mean, he's probably honestly dead now. That was 27 years ago. But so I remember thinking, you know, this isn't like on TV where they're trying to convince me that this is real.
Yeah.
This is just some guy
Yeah.
who works for the government that has photos
Oh
of
my gosh.
of imprints and things like that. But living up there, you can get really. There's some weird experiences that you're like, something's weird.
Yeah.
Something's watching me. And the only thing I'd say is like often I felt like something's watching me
That's creepy.
when I'm camping and up with the Boy Scouts and stuff.
Yeah. That's scary.
Something intelligent is what. It's the only way to really describe it. And so I've never seen a Bigfoot, full disclosure, or Sasquatch, but I will say that that's an interesting one.
We will one day get into
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot, the
Yikes.
Anunnaki, WikiLeaks.
The people that live under Mount Shasta.
It's going to be great. It's gonna be
Philly, do you know about the people that live under Mount Shasta?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do I know
wanna-
them? No.
Dude, I don't know any.
I just want to come up with one time where I've heard of something that Philly's like, what's that? A new conspiracy? But so
It
far,
it happens because like people will be like saying something, and I'll be like, oh no, I haven't heard that. What? Tell me about it. And then they'll tell me, and I'm like, that's tight.
And then Fielding for the next like 3 days is completely consumed, neglects his family. He's just on
Yeah.
What about birds aren't real? Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
That's kind of a fake one, but
That one was a funny one because that showed up like right at the beginning of like the pandemic. That was like one of the first things that
it
came
really
up.
caught heat
that were like
too.
birds aren't real because like the government shut down and nobody saw birds for
can-
like 3 days.
I mean, unless it's something that's most like very recent, because as a child, this may not actually be good for like if there's anyone that's like, what's that like animal organization that everyone like?
PETA?
Yeah. If PETA watches, he won't like this. But when I was a kid, my dad bought me a BB gun, and I'll just say I killed enough birds and didn't come in my backyard anymore. So,
Daniel,
I mean-
I have a similar story.
unless it's like a recent thing.
This is
they
like
believe.
this is like the photo negative of your story. I remember I was out and I got my brand new BB gun and I went and I saw a bird and it was on. I can still remember it was on this green and white swing set. It was sitting on top of it. I'm like, I'm gonna scare that bird away because I wasn't gonna shoot it because I'm so soft. And I shoot it and it hits the round tube, the pipe, ricochets into its breast. This robin. And it just, and then falls down to the ground alive.
And you're horrified.
And I'm horrified. So I go get it.
Now I have to finish it.
No. I get it. I get a shoebox.
Oh
Freaking
my
lined
gosh.
it
Oh
up, dude.
gosh.
I'm carrying this dying robin around with me for like 8 hours, and then it finally dies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You want to talk about a transformative experience? As like,
Yeah.
I think I was 6. That gave me that
makes
baby.
sense actually. Now that you say that, from some of the other stories that you've told
Yeah.
me.
And I'm just like, I'm traumatized because I still remember it. I can still remember what it looked like. I remember the temperature. It was a big deal. It was crazy.
I lived in California for 12 years, moved to Utah. So everybody always was like hunters and they did all that stuff. And every time I'd like date girls, I'd go and meet their dad. And they're like, "Oh, you hunt?" And I'm just like, "No,
Just your daughter.
I like to skate." Yeah,
I skateboard, baby.
I skateboard and
just
like,
tail.
yeah. And so when I met my, so every time I meet their dad, and then they're just always immediately disappointed. And as soon as they ask it, I know I'm like, "Yeah,
Hey.
this is where it ends."
Oh wait, don't be disappointed that I also do close-up magic.
Yeah. And so,
Watch this. I'm gonna make your daughter disappear.
so I meet my future father-in-law, and we're like talking, and then that question comes up, and I'm like, "This is it. This is where it's like it's over." He's like, "You ever hunt?" I'm like, "No." Like, I get like why, but I just never had any interest in it. And he's from California, surfer. He's just like, "Yeah, it's good." And I was like,
Nice.
I've never gotten past that question.
You're like,
It
this
feels
is it.
good.
See, I like.
And then we
hunting.
played on his Indo board for a while. You know what those are?
Yes.
Dude, that's what we did the whole. And my wife's like, "You're gonna want to talk to my mom the whole time. She's gonna ask you a lot of questions." And so I'm like thinking like, "Okay, I'm gonna be talking to her mom the whole." And then like we visit for a minute.
Let me
Mom
make
goes
sure
to
I
the other
do
room,
know.
And then I just
and
like,
then I'm not just saying it. It has like the round tube and a board on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Jeez.
So he's like spinning in circles on it, like because he's like a legit surfer. And I'm just like, I can like pop it up a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like, dude, it's beautiful.
This is a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. But I don't hunt animals. But I also don't like animals.
I love them. I like
No.
holding them and I like eating them.
I don't want to touch them.
That's
I
why
don't
I
want
have
their
to be.
hair on me.
I'm all about guns and hunting because I'm for eating animals. So I don't want to like be a pretender about that. I understand where they come from, but I actually don't enjoy hunting. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's cold.
It is a lot of work.
First of all, it's very expensive, but I get it. You're out there in the woods, and I don't know.
Super
it's very
alpha.
basic. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, so, yeah.
I'm on board. Yeah, I like meat.
Do you go hunting every year?
No.
So even
I'm
you don't.
I'm a big gun guy. I'm just not in.
That's kind of my brother. He's like that.
I mean, I want to eventually, but you're right. It's expensive, and it's like kids finding time, and
I
trying
mean,
to.
if meat prices get higher, I'm gonna start hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I go to the grocery
I
store.
love elk. I
Yeah.
love to eat elk.
Yeah. If I go to the grocery store and I'm like, okay, this is crazy, or I go to the grocery store and there's just not meat, then I'll hunt.
Yeah.
For me, it's like my thought process is if I can go to the grocery store, buy steak, buy ground beef, buy chicken, buy pork,
Yeah.
I don't have a need to
Yeah.
hunt.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
can
get it.
skin-
All my
I've
uncles
skinned a
hunt, my
deer.
dad hunted. Yeah.
I've skinned a deer just so I could, pull all the guts out. I'm like, I got it. I want to know how to do this.
Yeah.
It beats watching my family die of starvation.
Yeah. I bought a
makes
book.
sense.
So I'm sure I'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Reader's Digest had a book on.
Had a skin a deer.
Yeah.
All right.
I caught a fish once. That's about it. I didn't enjoy it.
I love it. Okay. So next week, episode 3, Roswell.
Roswell, the crash at Roswell, and then
There's
the
a lot of
fallout
weird stuff
from
there.
it, and
The motivation behind it.
Yeah, and then stories and reports, and then people that were there, and then it just like breaks off into like empaths, and it's
All right.
cool. It's cool.
That's going to be a cool one. Okay.
That would be fun.
So stay tuned. Episode 3, Roswell. After Thanksgiving, we'll record, be out that week.
Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting.
I like how Travis is dressing nicer every episode.
I know.
He's gonna wear a tie next
I
time.
tried to up level.
Yeah.
Dude, I wore my. I should have saved this one for Roswell. Dude,
That's
got
right.
my UFO. It's pulling up some
Nice. It
palm
also
trees.
looks like a mustache mushroom.
Oh yeah, probably like a black light cool thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I've not tried it.
Sweet.
All right. Okay. Adios, you guys.
All right. Nice.
Thanks, everybody, for watching episode 2. We're excited to bring more content your way. Episode 3, again, Roswell. And then we're going to start jumping into even more conspiracies. We're going to talk about the Tuskegee experiments, Operation Paperclip, 9/11, all kinds of different conspiracies. The Denver airport, you name it. We're going to talk about it here on Connect the Dots. So like and subscribe, follow us, and stay informed on all the awesome conspiracies that are out there. Because, like they say, the truth is out there.